They say money doesn't buy respect. Because for some people, no matter how much you earn, no matter what you've built, they'll only see what they've been taught to see. And that's what Marcus Reed learned the day he tried to buy a car. It was supposed to be simple. A Saturday morning, clear skies over Atlanta, and a man finally ready to replace the car he'd driven for nearly a decade. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't loud. Just successful quietly. Marcus had spent the last 12 years working for the Department of Justice, Federal Investigations Division. But nobody at the dealership knew that. And he never led with titles. He believed respect should be earned by behavior, not badges. Marcus parked at the far end as he always did. Habit. He walked in with a soft smile, greeted the receptionist, and glanced at a white sedan near the center of the showroom. "Good morning," he said warmly. "Is anyone available to show me the hybrid models?" The receptionist hesitated, just long enough for Marcus to notice. She looked him over, then forced a polite smile. One moment, sir. Let me find someone." There it was, that moment of invisible judgment. He'd seen it 100 times. That quiet calculation people make before they decide what kind of man you are. A younger salesman finally stepped forward. Trevor Daniels, 25, nervous, smile too wide. "Hey sir, I'm Trevor. So, you said hybrids." Marcus nodded. "Yes, I've done some research. I'm between the Altair X and the Omega Hybrid." Trevor blinked, surprised. "Oh, those are our higher-end models." Marcus smiled faintly. "That's fine." As they walked the showroom, Trevor kept talking, fast, rehearsed, all surface. He described features Marcus already knew. But what caught Marcus's attention wasn't the pitch, it was the tone. Polite but patronizing. When Marcus mentioned he wanted to pay in full, Trevor's smile faltered. "In full? Just to confirm, you mean finance, right?" Marcus looked at him calmly. "No, I mean in full." Trevor chuckled awkwardly. "Gotcha, I've had people say that before," and he trailed off, avoiding eye contact. It wasn't what he said. It was the assumption hiding underneath it. The disbelief that a black man could walk into a showroom and buy what he wanted without needing permission. Trevor excused himself, whispering to someone across the floor. Moments later, a man in his late 40s approached. Clark Bennett, the floor manager. "Good morning, sir. I'm Clark. Trevor tells me you're interested in one of our hybrids." Marcus nodded. "Yes, the Altair X. I'd like to take a look at the paperwork." Clark's eyes flicked briefly toward Marcus's clothes. Clean, simple, but not designer. "Of course. Before we do that, may I ask if you'll be trading something in?" Marcus smiled faintly. "No. I'll be purchasing outright." Clark's expression stiffened. I see. Well, we'll need some identification before we proceed. Dealership policy." Marcus handed over his license and smiled politely. Clark studied it longer than necessary, then said, "I'll just verify this." He walked off. Marcus exhaled quietly. He'd been through worse. People don't realize how loud silence can be. That kind of silence, the one that fills a room after someone decides you don't belong there, it hums louder than any insult. Minutes passed. Clark returned, but now with another man beside him. A uniformed security officer. "Mr. Reed," Clark began, tone professional but cold, "we're having a bit of an issue with your ID verification." Marcus frowned slightly. "An issue?" "Yes. Not matching in our system. Might be a glitch. But before we go further, we'll need to confirm your financial documents." "I have my bank letter here," Marcus said, reaching into his briefcase. Clark nodded, but the security guard shifted closer. As Marcus pulled out the folder, the guard's hand brushed his belt radio. A few heads turned. Customers began to notice. Marcus froze. "Is there a problem?" Clark smiled, thin and tense. "No problem. We just need to make sure everything checks out. You understand." That phrase, "you understand," it's always the same. It means don't make a scene. It means accept humiliation quietly. And Marcus had learned to do that. Clark looked at the guard and nodded slightly. The guard stepped forward. "Sir, I'm gonna have to ask you to wait outside while we clear this up." Marcus straightened. I'm not going anywhere. You have my ID and my paperwork. If there's an issue, you can explain it here. The guard's tone hardened. Sir, this isn't up for debate. A woman nearby pulled out her phone. Another whispered, "What did he do?" Clark sighed dramatically. Let's not make this harder than it needs to be. They'd made their decision. And it didn't matter what proof he had, because prejudice doesn't need evidence. It only needs confidence. Marcus's eyes darkened, not with anger but disappointment. Call your general manager, he said quietly. Right now. Clark shook his head. Sir, if you don't comply, we'll have to call the police. Marcus looked him dead in the eye. Then do it. 10 minutes later, flashing lights reflected across the showroom windows. Two officers entered, a man and a woman, both brisk, unreadable. Clark explained quickly, pointing toward Marcus. Says he's here to buy a car, but the ID didn't match in the system and he's refusing to leave. The male officer stepped toward Marcus. Sir, we're just here to sort this out. Marcus handed over his credentials again, calm. The officer glanced at the name, then back at Marcus. Wait here. The female officer's eyes lingered on him longer, something uncertain in her expression. Even she could feel it, the imbalance, the wrongness of the moment. But once a system starts rolling downhill, even good people forget how to stop it. Minutes later, the officer returned. Sir, please turn around. Marcus blinked. Excuse me? Until we verify your identity, we'll need to detain you for questioning. Clark folded his arms, satisfied. Trevor looked pale. Marcus didn't argue. He simply turned around and said quietly, make sure your cameras are on. The cuffs clicked. Phones lifted. And the whispers began again. It took 20 years of service to his country to earn that uniform. Outside, as Marcus was led past the row of cars, the wind picked up. Flags fluttered in the distance, red and white against gray. The irony wasn't lost on him. Because sometimes, it isn't the fight that breaks you. It's the silence of the ones who knew better, and said nothing. They didn't even use the back seat. They walked him straight through the showroom, past the same people who'd whispered, who'd stared, who'd said nothing. He didn't resist. Didn't yell. Didn't beg. Because men like Marcus Reed learned long ago that dignity isn't something anyone can take, only something you can surrender. Marcus sat in a small interview room, wrists marked faintly from the cuffs. Across the table, the same male officer, Officer Hayes, typed into a terminal, the blue glow flickering across his face. Mr. Reed, he said monotone, we're running your ID through the system. It's taking longer than usual. Marcus nodded slowly. It tends to do that. The officer frowned. Excuse me? Marcus didn't answer. In the hallway outside, the female officer, Officer Maria Lopez, leaned against the door, arms crossed, uneasy. She'd seen enough arrests to know when something didn't sit right. And this one? It felt wrong from the moment she looked into his eyes. She stepped into the observation room where a dispatcher was scrolling through records. Can you pull up Reed's ID directly through federal clearance verification? The dispatcher hesitated. That's above local access. Do it, Lopez said firmly. The dispatcher froze. Wait, what did you say this guy's name was? Marcus Reed, Lopez whispered. The screen filled with a federal insignia. Below it, Department of Justice, Federal Investigations Division, Senior Investigator, Special Operations. Lopez stared at the monitor, her pulse pounding. Oh my God. She turned to the dispatcher. Get the captain. Now. Captain Reynolds, mid-50s, graying hair, calm authority, stepped in minutes later. What's this about? Lopez handed him the report. He read the first line, then stopped cold. His face tightened. He walked to the interview room, opened the door, and looked at Marcus sitting calmly. Mr. Reed? Marcus looked up slowly. Yes, Captain? The captain swallowed. Sir, I think there's been a serious mistake. Marcus tilted his head slightly. Has there? Reynolds nodded to Hayes, who immediately began unlocking the cuffs. I can't begin to. Marcus held up a hand. Stop. Don't apologize for what you didn't start. Hayes stepped back, guilt painted across his face. Lopez spoke softly. Sir, we had no idea who you were. Marcus stood, rolling his sleeves calmly. That's exactly the point. When Marcus stepped out of the patrol car, the mood had shifted entirely. No flashing lights. No crowd. Just silence, heavy and awkward. Captain Reynolds walked beside him, followed by both officers. Inside, the dealership buzzed with uneasy energy. Clark Bennett froze the moment he saw them walk in. The captain's voice was steady but sharp. Mr. Bennett, my name is Captain Reynolds. You filed a complaint leading to an unlawful detainment. Do you know who this man is? Clark stammered. He said he was buying a car. He's a senior federal investigator with the Department of Justice. The captain cut in. And he's currently working on civil bias review for metropolitan precincts, including yours. The color drained from Clark's face. Trevor, standing nearby, looked like he wanted to disappear. Marcus said nothing. He didn't need to. Because when truth walks into a room, it doesn't shout. It just stands there, and every lie folds in on itself. The captain turned to Marcus. Sir, would you like to press charges? Marcus looked around the room, at the guards, the bystanders, the woman who had defended him earlier. Then he exhaled softly. No, I'm not here for revenge. He paused. But I do expect accountability. He turned to Clark. How many others have you made feel small here just because you could? Clark opened his mouth, but no words came out. Marcus nodded. That's what I thought. Later that evening, as the sun dipped behind the dealership's glass facade, a local reporter arrived. News travels fast when uniforms make mistakes. The story hit local feeds by nightfall. Black DOJ investigator wrongfully detained at dealership. Bias policies under review. And for once, the comments weren't divided. They were united, in outrage, in support, and in reflection. Marcus sat on the couch, phone buzzing endlessly. He ignored it. Across from him, his father's old photo, framed in uniform, stared back. He smiled faintly. You'd laugh at this, old man, he murmured. Same fight, different battlefield. He picked up his badge, turned it in his hands, then set it back down gently. Because sometimes justice isn't served in courtrooms. Sometimes it's served in silence. When those who judged you have to watch you rise higher than their expectations ever allowed. Inside, Trevor approached the receptionist quietly. Did you hear? The company's partnering with DOJ for training because of him. She nodded. Yeah, maybe it's about time. Outside, Marcus passed by, not to gloat, just observing from the sidewalk. He smiled faintly, then kept walking. He didn't need them to remember his name. He just needed them to remember the lesson. Later that night, Marcus sat on his balcony overlooking the city. The lights below shimmered, steady, countless. He held a mug of coffee, the evening air calm around him. His phone buzzed again. A text from Captain Reynolds. For what it's worth, thank you for handling it the way you did. You reminded all of us what professionalism looks like. Marcus typed a single reply. Respect isn't about how loud you demand it. It's how consistently you live it. He set the phone aside and closed his eyes. Because power never comes from a title. It comes from restraint. From knowing you could destroy someone, and choosing instead to teach them. Marcus Reed didn't need to raise his voice to be heard. He just stood, calm, composed, unbreakable. And the world finally listened. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because every week we tell stories that remind the world, real strength doesn't shout. Sometimes, it simply stands.